Two Gold Coasters are on their way to having the #1 mental health podcast in Australia. The pair helping each other through some dark times before coming out the other side to launch Shared Minds.
Erchana, thank you for coming.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Pleasure. So I have a little list here of the some of the achievements that you've done, and let's
Here we
just
go.
go through it. The Guinness World Record for a woman who's done the most consecutive marathons in a row.
That is correct.
150 marathons in over 150 days.
Yes.
From Cape York to Melbourne, so the tip of Australia to the bottom, over 6,300 kilometres.
Yes. And I stopped in Melbourne, and I remember clearly that a lot of Tasmanians were messaging me ferociously saying, mate, you haven't done Tasmania, you haven't ran Australia.
Yeah.
So the first thing I had to do when I finished was then go and run from Davenport to Hobart just to say, all right, I've officially run Australia now.
So
Everyone
that was a
can be
gap
quiet.
after the 150.
It wasn't the next day.
Wow.
I had a wine first.
I had a wine. And then you raised a lot of money for the Wilderness Society.
Yeah.
Ran from LA to Vegas.
Yes. That was a race. That was it. Yeah, it was a foot race with it was called the Speed Project. It's a no rules race where you have to go from LA to Vegas. Everyone leaves at 4 a.m. and there's no rules. You can go anywhere you want, and and you just have to get to Vegas. That's it.
That's so cool.
It was wild.
So you can pick the route you run.
Can pick the route,
go.
and you can pick your strategy around sleeping and everything you need. So it was just kind of who gets their first wins.
Have to be on feet?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and you can't
This
break
is some
any
dude in a
federal law.
taxi.
Yes, I do. Yeah, can't break any federal laws because it's not a sanctioned race, so there's no actual kind of parameters around it. And it's interesting, the winner doesn't win anything, but every single person that enters the race has to guess the time the finisher will do and write it on a $5 note.
Right.
And so there's a pool of money, and the person that gets closest to the winning time wins the money, but the condition is they have to put it on the roulette table, black or red. And the year that I was there, they guessed black and it landed on red, so they got no money. So
Do you know how much it was?
it was thousands and thousands of dollars. So it's just this really interesting
That
event.
sounds so much fun though. So you can come last and theoretically still
And
win
win.
this money.
Absolutely.
I want to come back to that. And then keeping on the theme of running, you ran for an independent candidate.
I did. That's the most recent wild
Yeah.
expedition I've done. Probably the craziest of them all.
I love that transition from being like doing marathons and raising money for Wilderness Society to then going into like local government. Like that's just such a...
And the amount of running puns was next level. You know, still running. She's running for parliament.
Yeah.
She's running for federal office.
Yeah. Well, as I said, keeping with the running theme.
Exactly.
So.
I thought you'd throw one in there.
Yes. So let's go back to the... Which one was first? Or was the Guinness record of the 107 involved in the 150?
Yes. The first, so essentially I was a semi-professional runner for most of my 20s. I was competing all over the world in the marathon distance specifically, and I had a series of setbacks in 2019 to 2020 that kind of left a fire in my belly. So I flew to Berlin to run the Berlin Marathon, and I was trying to get an Olympic qualifying time. And at the 37K mark, got this intense injury in my hip. I think I just overcooked it. I would have been going just too fast. You have to, right? To get a PB, you have to push your limits. And I had to bail out of the race at the 37K mark. And then I flew to, which was heart-wrenching. And so I flew to London.
So was there any part of you that's like, I'm just going to keep crawling to get to it? Or
Yeah, I could have, and everybody does ask that. But at that point, I'd ran many marathons. So finishing wasn't my goal. The time was my goal. And I had this thought in my mind that if I push that extra 5 or 6Ks and injure myself long term, I can't bounce back faster.
Yeah.
So I thought, I'll stop now. I'm injured. I've missed the cutoff, and I'll reload and go again in, say, a month's time.
Yeah.
So I flew to London and raced again in the UK, and we had the worst headwind ever. It was Brighton Marathon. I missed my time by 25 seconds because I was bent over against the wind and everyone ran slow. And then
And they don't like be like, oh, it's because of the headwind. We'll
No.
take X off everyone. It's like, nah, done.
done. And I remember just crossing the line and just burst into tears. And then flew to Tokyo Marathon. Had to start at the Tokyo Marathon in 2020, but as you know, the plane landed in Tokyo, they cancelled the race for COVID. So I had 3 back-to-back huge failures.
They didn't even get you off the plane. It just took off again. Just
straight
come back
home.
home, landed.
I mean, it was fine. We drank drank sake and did a lot of karaoke, so we found the silver lining. But I had all this kind of pent up frustration at my running. I guess performances weren't matching my ability, and then COVID hit, and we were plunged into, you know, this everything paused, and I just thought, all right, how can I get this? And so I combined my passion for the environment with my passion to push myself to my absolute limits, and then decided to run the entire length of the country and break the record.
So, like, you come back to Australia. How do you come up with an idea of running from tip to tail?
Yeah, well, it's an interesting one because it's actually something I dreamt up when I was a kid. I had this really competitive neighbour, and we used to race each other around the school oval, and he was always on par with me. If not, you know, one week I would beat him, one week he would beat me. And I think one day to shut him up, I said, look, I'm going to run the entire length of the country. I should actually call him and tell him I've done it because we were like 10 at the time.
He'd probably know.
He would know.
Just sent him a winky face emoji and that's it.
That's it, eh? Let him sit on it.
And then I forgot it, you know, went on with life, uni, career, whatever. And so when I was actually watching, I don't know if you guys know Bo Miles. He's this adventurer, he's this Aussie bloke, like he's in his 40s, he's real fun, and he does these cool wild adventures. And I was watching him in quarantine, and I was like, why am I not doing more of this stuff? I've been so fixated on racing. And I kind of thought about my childhood goal, thought it's now or never. I have this kind of burning desire to do something for the environmental crisis, which, you know, alludes to the political campaign as well. And I thought, all right, let's do it. And it so happened that I got out of quarantine, was sitting on Burleigh Hill, and met my now husband, who goes, I've always wanted to make a documentary about something strange. So we kind of combined forces.
Wow.
And then literally within 12 months we were running. So we just made it happen.
But that's how you met your husband as well.
Yeah, that's how I met my husband.
That's crazy. There's no part of me that thinks that running from the top to the bottom is a good idea. Like, I just go, even walking to the shopping centre, I'm like, I'll drive.
Yeah.
But like, how much planning went into something like that?
Well, it was all kind of the setbacks and hurdles that created it to what it was. So my original plan was to just run from north to south, and I didn't have any thought about how many Ks per day. I was just going to do what I felt like.
Yeah.
You know, if I got to 20 Ks and I was tired, I would stop, or if I got to 50, you know, whatever. And to do it, I needed sponsorship. I couldn't, you know, I was quitting my job. You just need backing, right? And for about 3 months, I was taking my idea of just going from A to B in whichever way, shape or form I could to two brands, like I guess brand aligned sponsors, or I guess vision aligned sponsors, and I just got nothing back. It was crickets, and I would have called hundreds of sponsors. And I don't know what happened. I would have been scrolling, or maybe Rye found it, and the record for the most consecutive marathons at the time was 107.
Yeah.
And I'm fairly sure Rye said to me, why don't you go for the record? You're already running, you know, 4,000 or 5,000 Ks, just do that. And I thought, but that puts the pressure on having to do at least that marathon every single day back to back without fail. But it was interesting. I thought, all right, let's do that. That's a hook. And it was my first big lesson that every big idea actually needs a marketing idea. And I took that marketing idea to market, and within, I would say, 2 weeks, I had sponsors to cover pretty much 60% of the expedition. And once I got those,
So it wasn't just one sponsor; it was a lot of
yeah,
sponsors.
we got a camper van because we needed to have an off-road vehicle.
Yeah.
We got
and like you needed a crew to follow you.
Yeah.
They're not running with you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that all fell into place because I'd said that I will do this Guinness World Record. And because I feel like it was more tangible, people could actually hold on to what that looked like as a marathon per day. And then, so once we had enough to go, I just quit my job. And that was terrifying, I'll be honest. Terrifying. And I'm kind of one of these people that doesn't think things through. I just very much live in the decision. Again, the political thing, we're just in the decision. I'm like, this sounds like a good idea, and I don't think through. And, you know, had I have known exactly how hard it would have been, I might not have done it. So I think for my mindset at the time, it was blissful ignorance that got me there.
Yes.
What were you doing before you did it for your career? What was the...
I'm a nutritionist.
Okay.
So I work in the food at the time I was working a 9 to 5 in the food industry.
Yep.
Since then I now have my own business. I've moved away from that. But yeah, just a regular 9 to 5 running on the side.
What was the day that made you quit? Like, what was the thought process there?
Well, it was because I knew I'd had enough green lights to do the expedition tip to toe. So we had a date in mind to leave. So we started in the Cape, and because of the rainy season, we needed to be out before it was monsoonal. So we had a sort of set season to leave, and that was August, but it was also enough time to let me train. Yeah. So I was like, okay, I'm going to leave on the 1st of July. That gives me 6 weeks to get to the Cape and prepared and get the vehicle and just do all the logistics. So I just set a date that made sense to go, if that makes sense.
And by setting the date, you had like no way out.
Yeah,
you're
no
like,
way
by
out.
setting a date, you're like, oh.
Yeah. I'm quit.
How do you prepare for something like that?
Yeah, I think the running was the easiest part.
Yeah.
The logistics was so difficult. And actually, one of the highlights of the run was I essentially was just needed to head south. But because I was running, I ran 6,300 Ks. And if the way the crow flies is 3,800 Ks. So I could go the scenic route per se. And so what I did is I put my start line or my kind of rough route on social media. And actually, a lot of the running community Australia-wide said, hey, I've got this incredible trail in, I don't know, Albury, Wodonga or the Daintree. Come and I'll show it to you. And people would run with me and show me their local haunts.
Cool.
Yeah, so it took a lot of the work off my plate.
Yeah.
But still, obviously, there was food and cooking and, social media and, hustling the media to follow the story and all of the school. I did school visits every 3 days. I'd run through schools.
Into the school.
Yeah,
Right?
sometimes I did. There was a studio I did the morning show in Sydney, and I literally ran into the studio, did my thing before my watch expired, and then kept running. So you just had to make it work, right?
Good on
That's
you.
crazy.
So when you go to set a Guinness World Record, do you tell them first and then they have to sit there with you?
Yes. And that was actually difficult for me because they take 3 months to get back to you. And there's a set of, I didn't know this at the time, but there's a set of, I guess, standards or requirements that you have to meet to verify it. And I was sweating on the night before I started because I hadn't heard back from Guinness and I didn't know what I needed. So what I did,
the night before you were set to run.
Yeah, I've been waiting and I hadn't heard from them.
So you're in Cape York at this point.
In Cape York, in Bamagas, watching the sunset on my final night before I start. And I thought, what am I going to do? So I got on Instagram, found the lady in the UK who had the record, and I called her. And I said, I'm so sorry, but I'm about to try and break your record.
I'm here to find out
Can
this
you
way.
tell me what I need to do that? And to her absolute credit, she said, you need 2 witnesses, you need GPX files, you need a log sheet, you need to record this. And she gave me the whole list of stuff that you needed to do.
Good on her.
Oh, wow. And how'd she take the phone call?
She was actually pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And since then, someone has called me, or actually 3 women have called me and said, hey, I'm going to try and break your record. Can you tell me what you need to do? And I've shared it with them too.
Do you know how many people have tried and failed?
I know one person that's broken it. The record's officially broken. She's a Belgian lady and she ran 366 around her hometown. She can keep it.
366.
Yeah. It's mind-boggling.
Is a marathon
And you did
25K?
It's 42Ks.
42K. I thought it was 24.
And you did
That's
half.
And you did 107 and she did 130 something.
Yeah, well, I did 150 and she did and she did 366. It's pretty wild. Yeah. And I've had people
She's run a
call
marathon every day.
every single day for a year. And then I've had people that call and then obviously something comes up and they've never started for whatever reason.
Can you blame people though for not doing it though? Like knowing the work that went into it? And especially you doing it in a straight line from tip to tail rather than just her running around the hometown.
Yeah, and
That's nuts.
she actually did, it was very lovely. She did a shout out and she said, look, when she overtook my record, she said, I understand that I'm doing it on a flat surface in my hometown where I can sleep in my own bed, and Erchana's done it crossing the literal outback. So she did make that comparison, which she didn't need to do. That was just good
nice of her.
sportsmanship.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
So what was it like first night? Like you've run the first one where you're kind of like, oh, this is awesome. Like you're loving it.
It was funny because When I started, I remember feeling just elation. I was like, oh my God, I'm doing this. This is it. I just need to run now. And I just remember loving every second of it until about 2 p.m. and I was only 30 Ks in and it was about 37 degrees and I was so tired. And I remember finishing going, that was so much harder than I thought it would be. And I've only just done one and just getting a little bit anxious about the fact that I have to do this every single day. But it's a testament to how strong the body is that you seem to be able to just, I mean, I had tools to get through it, mental tools to get through it. And one of the key things for me was I just never gave myself the option to quit. I had this kind of great, good, and get the F through it strategy where a great run would be I'd go out and do it, feel good, stay positive in my mindset. And then good was like, I'm feeling a bit not so great, I'm struggling mentally, the clouds are coming in, just stop and walk if you need to, you're going to do it. And then I had to just get the F through it, which was even if I'm just going to crawl, you're going to do it. But there was never any other option. There were just those 3 layers.
There was never any, I'll jump in the car. Or like it was just, even if you were walking, you were still heading towards the goal. Yeah,
absolutely. And that was a big strategy for me. And I remember asking myself on so many occasions, is this the absolute best you can do? Is this the moment that you're going to have to tell everybody that you quit? And often that answer was, I don't think this is that moment. And so you sort of trick yourself into keep going.
Yeah.
Was there ever a point where you nearly went, I'm not doing this?
Yeah. Marathon 108 and 109. So you'd broken the
Back to
record.
back.
Yeah.
Well,
they were
there's no
both
point now, eh?
Yeah. I was like, why did I say 150? Like, why? And that bit was over Christmas and New Year's. So people weren't watching. So you don't get that feedback.
Oh, there's no
no energy.
Yeah.
And, I was missing my family Christmas. I was in Canberra.
I was
born in Canberra too.
Were you? Oh, I went back there last week for my goddaughter's birthday and it was the longest 4 days of my life. I moved 5 years ago and I try not to go back.
Exactly. So now you know why there was so hard.
That's been brutal. Oh my goodness.
Take away the Christmas New Year's thing. You're in Canberra those days.
In Christmas, so it's summer, so it would have been at least 12 degrees.
Yeah. I didn't have a Sounders beard. I had ice.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear.
Yeah.
Wow. So at that point, where's the mind at? Like, what keeps you going? What are you thinking about to just keep pushing and going?
And so for those 2 particular days, I didn't have the carrot for me for a long time. Yes, was just getting that record. There was so much motivation to be the record holder. You'd always wanted it. You had so many setbacks. But once that was gone, the only really thing that was holding me accountable was the public, telling the public that I was going to get to 150, which didn't seem strong enough to keep me going. So then I had to revert back to the why, which was I'm out here raising money for the extinction crisis, for Australian biodiversity. And that really helped. And it actually, the biggest thing at that point when the going was so tough was to lean on the people, the community. And so I just literally put it out there. I said, guys, I'm really struggling. And I remember by that point, I think a few days later, I was in Albury-Wodonga when I'd put it out publicly that I was struggling. And the next day, I reckon 60 people came, New Year's Eve, morning of New Year's Eve, came out and ran me from like Albury through Wodonga and south. And it was...
Oh, so they didn't stand there like cheering you on?
No,
like,
they ran with me.
With you.
And there was this...
That would have been the population of the town almost.
Probably. Absolutely. And there was this one lady, I've just blanked her name, I've known it forever, it'll come back to me, but she'd never run a marathon before, and she goes, I'm just going to come with you for 20 Ks, it's going to be a distance PB for me. And she was having so much fun, and at 20 Ks I turned to her and I said, oh, thanks for joining, you've actually really helped me today. And she goes, I'm finishing this, and gave me this like determined stare.
Like, let's go.
Yeah, and then I remember she was still running with us at 30 and everyone stopped for a drink and she's like, hurry up, we got to get under 4 hours. And then just dragged us all through it. So watching everybody
Amazing.
else's energy was one of the
Yeah.
biggest things I lent on. And now annually they do a marathon every New Year's Eve. So just seeing it
Wow.
grow and
That ripple effect
the
you've
ripple.
had. And she'd be running it that
Yeah,
night.
she would be.
She would be. She'd
Where's
be
the
one running
body
it.
at that point? Because me and Kirby did a hike. It was like 42 k's. But now that you say this,
It was overnight up and down 3
Oh.
mountains.
it still
Amazing.
wasn't. Compared to what you've said now, I feel like it's not even a story worth telling. I still have bruises on my toes from it was 2 months ago. What are your legs and everything like?
Well, everybody, the very small people that have done something similar warned me that the first 2 weeks is the hardest, and they were dead right. The first 2 weeks was agony. My body was aching, everything was swollen, my calf strained, and I had to run through a calf strain, and because I changed my technique, I got a T-bone injury. That was just a nightmare. But the more and more I went south, the more conditioned my body became, and the marathons got faster. So by the time I was running in Victoria, we were running 3 hour 35 marathons. So we got quicker and quicker and quicker. Where that affected me though is that my I guess reserves, my daily reserves to do all the media stuff and the school talks was diminishing.
Yeah.
So my body got faster at running, but my daily energy started to plummet. And I just remember anyone
You
that
were
wanted
spiking a
yeah,
bit. through the day,
anyone that wanted to talk to me took so much effort, and I just cried a lot. And you know, I was really digging deep in those last few weeks.
Have you always been like this? Like really driven?
Yeah,
Always?
yeah. And I want to look back on my life and say I pushed myself. I did things that were outside my comfort zone, and I tried new things. And I just and again, getting to the campaign, that was outside my comfort zone by a country mile, but it made positive change. And I was like, when am I going to get an opportunity to do this again? And how scary is it? And if it does scare me, I kind of gravitate towards it.
Yeah. You know that like mentally you're able to push through that run. So you're like, well, mentally I can do anything really.
Yeah, and the biggest thought I had surprisingly at the end was I'd always set myself 150, but what if I didn't set myself a limit? You know, what could you get to then?
Yeah.
And so I'd be keen to do something in the past that doesn't have a limit until you just drop. Maybe a backyard ultra, but you know, something that just pushes you until you have to find it would be somewhere in my future.
Yeah, wow. I think it's important there, like, to talk about like goal setting and chasing goals is sharing it with people and sharing it with a community, because they seem to be the thing that was keeping you accountable. Like if you did it for fun on your own merit, to be like, oh, let's see how many I can do without advertising it, how far in do you reckon you would have got?
Yeah, not as far. I don't think it's far at all.
You would have got to Cairns and be like, nah.
It's a good part. I'm staying here.
Yeah.
No,
That's what the same as this though, because we've said since day one we're going to be #1 mental health podcast. And every day that I'm like, oh, this is too hard, because we quit our jobs back in January.
Oh, congrats.
I'm like, we were on the news and stuff. Is that like we can't have?
We've said it on news. Like there's
like
a lot
on
of people
heaps of
watching
different
us.
things.
Yeah.
I'm like, we can't have. Yeah.
How's it going, guys?
There's just no stepping back from it.
Absolutely. And I think it's a good thing. You know, I've got clients, I'm a run coach, and I've got clients that have set public goals because it does hold them accountable.
Yeah.
It depends on what motivates you. It motivates me, so I do it. But if you're the kind of person that just wants to do it in the background, there's some nobility and kind of in that as well. So I guess everyone's each to their own.
What was your dreams as a kid? Is this the life that you imagine living?
No, I've never had a path set. Even now, I have no idea what's next. I don't know. I've never been a 5-year goal person. I've been a very much go with the flow person. I very much follow the green lights as they come. And yeah, I've wanted to be 1,000 things when I was a kid. A adventure tour guide, a doctor, and then I don't like blood, so I went to something else.
Yeah, can't do that one.
Yeah, I've never really, I don't know. What about you? Have you had a set goal when you were a kid?
Pretty much what we're doing now on a grand scale.
Good.
And that's probably why I get so driven every single day. And it's like, yeah, it's a weird blurred vision, but I can feel it and see it in my brain when I think about it.
Yeah.
And this is the path to getting us there.
Yeah.
Like a career in entertainment or something, you know. And that vision, once we met Osher, made it realistic because...
Your life changed after meeting him because you went, that's it.
That's
Well,
it.
I'm sure you've obviously met quite a few great people, but when I looked at him prior to meeting him, he was just this I didn't. He wasn't a real human to me,
Enigma.
just from the things that he did accomplish. But then when we met him, I was like, he's just a guy that has a family, and he's just a normal person. And I was
Yeah.
like, so this is actually achievable. Like,
Yeah, and he has the same concerns that we have.
Yeah,
I
same
spoke
problems.
to him, and at the time he's like, I don't know if I'm gonna have a job next week because they're cutting, and he has the same fears and the
Yeah.
same. He has to put in the same amount of work. He just got there through that hard work and dedication.
Yeah.
But he is just a regular human.
well, he said something one day. He's like, what was it about the bills? He was like,
Yeah, he
sometimes
said-
I get worried about paying bills or something. And I'm like, you do too?
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're like, what
Like, you
level
just
would your bills be?
yeah, that's the thing, right?
If you're worrying, how big are they?
It was just one of those things. But after meeting him, we've met like a few good, like Jim, like the Jim's
wow.
group guy,
Yeah.
like we did him, and again, just a regular guy. Like I've just been ever since
Yeah,
him.
we thought this guy, Jim's mowing owner, we thought he's just this omnipotent Australian god.
Just
And then we're just
rocks up.
sitting in front of him and he's got a jacket on and he's like, oh, sorry, I'm
Gave us
late.
the knuckles.
He just gave us a fist bump when he walked up. Like,
That is amazing.
Yeah. So and then we're at 12.5, 13 million views for the month on
Something like that,
social
yeah.
media and stuff. And
Wow.
meeting Osher was what kind of made it realistic. So I was like, you
Yeah.
really can just do whatever you
You
want.
absolutely can, and that's what I tell everybody. Why not try? What do you have to lose? And when I say I follow the green lights, I have pillars, and I've been really big on sticking to my pillars. I want to always be making sure I'm making progress in, the pushing my limit space, helping others to do that, and environment. So if it's in those pillars, I'll always be chasing it. And, I can't sit still for 30 seconds before I come up with my next goal. And, and then once I'm in that, I focus on it really intensely,
Hyperfixate.
hotly for months and months until it's completed. And then I'll take a break and then I'll reflect on it, and then I'll go for what's next. So I'm in that reflection period right now where I'm like, all right, where am I going to put all of my resources and attention now?
I love the idea of the pillars. So that means if you have an idea and it doesn't help one of these three, you just don't do it.
Yeah, because we only have a finite amount of energy, resources, money to, leverage with our friends and how much we can ask of them. So I feel like saying no is just as powerful as saying yes. And sometimes, off the back of this expedition, I was asked to do 1,000 different things, and I was pulled in different charity directions and different job directions and opportunity directions. And I was so confused.
Yeah.
And it was actually I have a mentor who said to me, you need to create pillars, because that way, if it aligns with them, sure, let's put it in. But if it doesn't, then it might not be taking you in the path or the general goal that you want to go towards. And it's been so helpful. I do it all the time.
No, I really like that. That's a great idea.
How did you feel once? Because that whole 150 days, it would have felt like that this energy, and you're working towards something, and then you said you're on a Good Morning Australia. Wait, what is it?
Oh, just there was
different- heaps of
there's
different
heaps
stuff,
different breakfast
yeah.
shows.
And you've got all these people around you, but on that last day, once the dust settled, was it a weird feeling? Were you kind of like, what am I doing now?
Yeah, it was. Well, it was still buzzy for a few days afterwards because, we had all the media, and my family had flown in from all around the world to be there, and we're in Melbourne. And so
Was it in Melbourne CBD, the finish line?
Yeah,
or-
so at the tan. So the last day we did laps of the Botanical Garden, which is a 3.8k loop. And so people would join, and it just got busier and busier
That
and
would
busier.
have felt amazing doing that, having everyone
It was
turning
incredible.
up.
Yeah, I turned around because I was at the front with some people, and I turned around and all I could see was dust from the thousands of people running with me, and I was like, "What is this? This
It's
is
like when Forrest Gump's running.
Yeah,
he turns around and there's the army of people
it was
there.
like
yeah.
that." And because we filmed it, and it wasn't until weeks later when I rewatched it all, I was like, "Oh, you were there, and you were there, and you were there," and I was so hyped at the time that I didn't really take it all in.
Yeah.
But yeah, I crashed. So I finished on a Monday, and Thursday when my family flew out, I think I slept for a month. I just couldn't get out of bed.
Yeah, understandable.
Yeah,
I
so
would
that
have
was
thought
tough.
you would have woke up the next day and been putting the shoes on and go, oh, I don't have to do this today.
know.
Getting ready to go. No.
Who was the really famous guy, the Iron Cowboy, who said he'd do 100 Iron and then got up and did 101? Everyone's like, are you going to do 151? And I was like,
No.
done.
His one was next level because he was like the 50 marathons, but in the 50 states. So he had to run, and then
Yeah.
they drove him to this next state overnight. Like, that's insane.
It's the logistics that makes these things hard,
Yeah.
right? Oh, no, but yeah, I did take a little bit of recovery afterwards, and then ran Tassie.
Yeah.
And I always tried to have a message with it. So the reason when we ran from Davenport to Hobart, I had these letters in my backpack, and they were from these girls in Melbourne who wanted to, essentially, it was paint the future, and they'd painted what they wanted the world to see. Well, what they wanted the world to look like when they were older. And it was green and fresh. And then we ran those letters to Parliament House and presented them at Hobart Parliament. So they've always got a campaign attached to them as best as possible. And so I'm always trying to tick those two boxes of what can I do for the good of the world and what can I do to push myself physically and challenge myself.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. I just I don't know if Liam sort of asked the question, but, you know, we see a lot of people, and like Osher was a prime example. He had these goals, and like when the Australian Idol finished, they kind of went, all right, wrap, everyone, thanks for coming, see ya. And he was just so like lost and felt like it hadn't happened.
Yeah.
Like when you crossed that at 150, did you feel the achievement? Could you live in the achievement? Or was it just a bit like, oh, like we're done?
Yeah, yes and no, all of those. You feel everything. And I remember everybody kept asking me, what's next? What's next? What's next? So I remember getting
You're like, let me sit in this.
I was like, that was hard.
Yeah.
Let's just be in this moment. And I'm really cognizant of not asking people what's next because I know that they'll probably come up with something if they want to. But if they don't, that's also okay. You know, there's so many things we want to achieve in life. I don't want to pigeonhole myself as the person that just always runs. I want to do other things as well. But yeah, there's this kind of societal expectation to just always better the next thing and better the next thing and better the next thing. So yeah, I think living in the moment and I guess practicing gratitude for the achievements and the progress you've made is so important.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and you must do this with the podcast. Once you had Osher on, you must be like, look, that was great. Let's revel in this for a moment before we think about, all right, who's on next?
Yeah.
It's something we try and work on. We've gotten really bad at it lately.
After gym, because we did gym and then like Osher was a little bit wild, like because that was the biggest by far at that point. And so like
Pretty great guest.
Yeah, he was awesome.
He came out, he reached out to us, which was even cooler.
Is he on the Gold Coast? It's quite
he's
big.
in
Melbourne.
So we flew to Melbourne.
Oh, amazing.
And so like we finished from him and we were like, and we had so much energy to put towards this. We left and like his assistant dropped us at the train station to go back to the city. And we were just like on the train, we just extorted all energy and we were dead for like 3 days, 4 days. It took us 4 days to recover from that.
Yeah.
Just because the expelled energy.
There was a long story behind it, but he ended up like not coming on the first day when he was meant to, and he was out somewhere. So we were all nervous for like the whole morning, and we waited all day, and then he didn't end up coming. So we like just expelled all this energy.
Yeah.
Can you tell when you're nervous about a guest? Do you feel like the energy in the podcast is different? Or are you pretty good at shoving it down?
Well, after Osher, it's like, it's like we've gotten used to it. So
yeah, definitely. We were literally talking before you got here. We had our first guest. His name was Evan, and he's this awesome dude. But like he had a lot of followers on Instagram, and we were like, oh my god! And there's a video of us at the front going, he's coming, and like we were laughing about it because now it's like we don't really get too nervous.
Yeah.
No, we're like, oh, how good's this gonna be?
Yeah.
So yeah, we get excited for it more.
But yeah, it's something we got to work on because we do this full time. It's like it's survival.
Yeah.
So we probably don't celebrate the wins enough. Like our major goal was to get a management company, and we got that. And I think
Osher was one of our major goals.
But I think we had we were always like we need a management team, and then we finally got to it, but we had a massive loss on the same day, and we didn't even celebrate the management.
That sucks.
And it was like it's not that big of an achievement in the grand scheme of everything, but we were like we've worked towards this since day one, and we didn't even. I think we sat with them and had the meeting, and then I went home all depressed, and then Kirby and
because
I.
the other thing didn't happen.
Yeah.
And we're like,
And that afternoon, I called Kirby. I was like, we didn't even celebrate that.
It shows that you really fixate on the negatives and not on the positives. And
No, I've noticed that.
yeah, I think that's really important. It's one thing I really did on Tip to Toe was the whole how to eat an elephant one bite at a time thing. It's like I didn't think about going, all right, I'm going to run 150 marathons because that would have broke me, right? And it's probably the same as you. We want to be #1 podcast. I was like, all right, today I'm going to run 1 marathon. And if that felt overwhelming, I'm going to run 5Ks. And if that felt overwhelming, I'm just going to get to the bloody end of the street and reward myself with a creamy soda. And you break it down into steps, but you have to celebrate those steps. And it just sucks it fell on the same day.
I think it was 3 massive losses that week, and then that one came at the end. At that point, we were so defeated.
there's a little sugar on top.
Yeah. What would be your ultimate guest?
Luke Combs,
This guy.
that guy there. He's
Wait, is he the singer?
country music.
Oh, I love that. He's got that. Yeah, I know Luke Combs.
Yeah, he's
Fast
number
car.
one.
You've
But
got
yeah, that's
going on
it,
For
yeah.
fast car, yeah.
No one in Australia.
Australia was Osher was our number one
Yeah.
in Australia.
Not because of the size of him, it was really what it meant to us, really. Like, he's a
Yeah.
big reason that we started it. And when I went through my OCD, he had a podcast. I listened to it 30 times. Just he was the only
Wow.
person that I could look up to that got through it. So
Yeah.
that was the sort of the major point in getting him. But
You can get Luke.
yeah, it's
I got no doubt.
we're
there's no
trying.
doubt.
It's
A lot of gatekeepers.
Does he? Yeah.
That's the problem with. I think he's got 7.5 million followers, and I always see like he gets tagged and stuff. I was like, you'd message him, and you'd end up right at the bottom within 2 minutes. So getting through to him is difficult, but the bigger we get, the
It'll
easier it gets.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
It'll
yeah,
happen.
but
I'll
it's-
look,
yeah, there's a few.
Still to come on the Shared Minds podcast.
Yes, so I had never saw a future in politics. I actively used to avoid it because I thought they were all crooks. Still kind of halfway there.
It wasn't just for the Gold Coast.
No, it's
See,
federal.
this is what I mean.
Parliament at the end of the day is supposed to be representative of the people. So why shouldn't we have a diverse range of humans that represent tradies and nurses and, you know, lawyers and
point.
doctors and athletes rather than just, you know, career politicians?
Erchana shares her story of transition from a marathon runner to politician. Tune in tomorrow at 6 a.m. to catch the second half of this incredible interview.